Another thing I need you to be able to do, it again has to do with scientific notation, is to be able to usually multiply and divide numbers that are packed up in scientific notation, really big numbers or really small numbers. So I've in the past had students sometimes struggle with this, and I want to make sure we get off on the right foot. So I'm going to kind of talk you through a couple of examples of multiplying numbers, two numbers, just two, using your calculator that are packed up in scientific notation. So basically, whenever you want to put something in your calculator, a number that's in scientific notation, whether you want to use that number to multiply, divide, add, or subtract, you need to enter the coefficient first. And here's where calculators are kind of different. You enter the coefficient, not that part, but then you need to tell it that you're wanting to use scientific notation for your number. And what I've run into, and there's actually a fourth thing out there, but you should look for a key that says EE, EXP, or SCI. Oh, there it is. Or times 10 to the x. Now, 10 to the x, let's see, how do I say this? I'll put it in red. I'll say do not use the key that simply says 10 to the x. Use the key that says, and this is kind of new, times 10 to the x. That would be fine. If you use the key that says 10 to the x right now after you enter your coefficient, it's not going to work right. You'll be off by a factor of probably 10 if you have. So anyway, so I said you enter the coefficient. That's the first part, that's the decimal part, and then you hit one of these keys on your scientific calculator. This is why it's called a scientific calculator, because you can enter into scientific notation, and then you enter the exponent of 10. So if it's a large number, then you're simply going to enter in that number. Now if it's a small number, so that superscript of 10, that exponent of 10 is negative, then you're going to have to either press the plus or minus, I'll change from red, plus or minus key on your calculator, or I've used one recently that had a key that had just in parentheses a negative sign. You're going to press that, and then you press your exponent. So I've got a couple of examples to kind of walk you through what that looks like. So once you have your number entered into your calculator using these steps, your calculator knows it's a number packed up in scientific notation, and it will deal with it like any other number. So, all right. Let's see. Oh, so I was trying to think what I was trying to remind you guys of here. So I will do a couple of examples about what your calculator will display, but your calculator will display some, I'll put X, sorry, decimal. Your calculator will display something like this, X, decimal, and it'll give you some digits, okay? And then it might give you the letter E, and then it will give you one or two more digits. So what that means, what that E means, is that your calculator is displaying a number in scientific notation, which sometimes it has to, right? Because it doesn't have enough spaces on the calculator display to do otherwise. So basically what you've got here is this right here is your coefficient. I'll just put coefficient, that's your decimal part, and this actually is your power of 10. That's your exponent. And I think what my line says here is sometimes instead of like this, and you'll see this especially kind of in the cheaper calculators, your display will do the coefficient, okay, and then it will have some spaces, put like just spaces, and then it will have two numbers over here, okay, and that is it packed it up in scientific notation. Oops, my decimal didn't show up here. Okay, so let's see what we got.